Do you suffer from imposter syndrome as a writer or a content creator? Maybe you feel fearful, nervous, and just like a total fraud anytime you're ready to hit publish. If so, you're probably suffering from imposter syndrome. Don't worry though, you're not alone. But let me ask, how much more money could you make and how many more people could you impact if you were able to get rid of imposter syndrome and have that confidence that you deserve? Well, I'm going to show you how I got rid of imposter syndrome and how I was able to build confidence. That way you can start living up to your full potential. So before we banish imposter syndrome once and for all, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell for notifications. That way you never miss any of these epic videos about how to build an online writing business. So just a quick backstory, I started publishing content online 5 years ago this month. So January of 2016 is when I hit publish on my first blog post ever. Looking back, I can say it was absolutely awful. I can't even read it, but the fact is I got started and I just put myself out there, and that one decision literally changed my life. In the past 5 years, I've been featured in tons of publications, became a top writer on Medium, published several books, and started a podcast with 100+ episodes. None of this would have been possible though if I let imposter syndrome hold me back. So what is imposter syndrome anyways? Well, according to this definition, imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persists despite evident success. Imposters suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of their intellectual fraudulence that override any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. Here's the thing. Just as a writer, you're not the only one that feels this. This happens to people in the corporate world when they get a new job position, when they switch companies. This happens to famous people like athletes and celebrities. Anytime you are leveling up and putting yourself out there and getting out of your comfort zone, you're more than likely going to feel that imposter syndrome. But you know what? That doesn't matter. So let's just reframe that, because we'd like to think of imposter syndrome as this negative thing. But what I started to do is I started to flip it and say, I'm feeling like an imposter because I'm actually getting out of my comfort zone. And our brain gets really worried when we start taking risk or a perceived risk like publishing content online. But at the end of the day, that means that you are wanting more for yourself and you're putting yourself out there, which is a great thing. So first off, let's just reframe this before we get into all the other strategies, because imposter syndrome is good. Pat yourself on the back. That means that you are striving for more. Now look, I would say I had imposter syndrome like really bad, to the point of like anxiety. And then even when I did hit publish, I would never share it. I wouldn't email it to my list. I wouldn't even promote it because I was like semi-embarrassed of it, or I thought, who am I, or I'm not good enough. So I want you to know this held me back for a while, but eventually using these 3 strategies that I'm going to share with you, I just realized that I have to keep going and I have to put myself out there. One quote I really like from a fellow writer is Christina Katz. She said, if you experience imposter syndrome, it doesn't mean you aren't writing well. It means you think success is for other people, not for you. Well, I want you to know that if I can make money writing and build a successful 6-figure business, I know you can too. So before we get into these tips, just say right now, I am a successful writer. Because you know what? If you have the drive in you, then you definitely have the ability. All right, so now I want to share 3 specific ways that I overcame imposter syndrome as a writer. The first thing as I did is I started focusing on topics that I was super passionate about. Now, when you first get started writing as a freelancer, it's really easy to just take any job out there on Upwork or job boards because you're just looking for your first client. And while that's okay in the beginning to work more as a generalist, it's also really hard to scale, and it's also when I found that that imposter syndrome really came in hot. So here's the thing, I tell all my students inside my writing program, Freelance to 5K, write what you know. When I started focusing on topics that I knew and loved, everything changed. One great example is golf. Now, I've been playing golf for 20+ years, yet I hadn't even thought of that as a niche until one time I saw a job listing for a golf writer. I decided to try it out, and it literally changed everything. Not only have I made over $100,000 writing just about golf, but I became a top golf writer in the industry. And I also found that when I was writing content that I was super passionate about, I didn't feel that imposter syndrome because I realized even though I'm a new writer, I'm experienced as hell in the golf world. I have 20 plus years. And so I realized when I was able to take my knowledge and put that into epic content, people started to love it and it really started to resonate. Not only with golf though, I've been able to use that with personal development and get featured on sites like Fearless Motivation and Goalcast and all kinds of other ones because again, I focused on content that I knew and loved. The second thing that I did is I focused on serving. It's really easy when you're a writer to get in your own head. A lot of times we're just sitting in an office or a coffee shop and we're just trying to get all this stuff out of our head and onto this laptop to hit publish. But I found that it's very easy to think when I hit publish, people are gonna come out of here and tell me I'm not good enough, or you don't have this degree, or you don't have this experience, or you don't have blah, blah, blah. And it's so easy to get there because again, our mind is wired for negativity because we always are looking for ways that can threaten our survival. So you always have to realize you're kind of fighting this ancient survival mechanism. And that's why it's important to just kind of put that aside and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna focus on serving. Think about if I can help one person, whether it's a book you wanna write or a freelance article or something on Medium, think about, can I help one person? Focus on that one person, and when you focus on serving, everything changes. Now, don't get me wrong, there are gonna be some trolls, there are gonna be some haters. That is part of it because I found that writing is very vulnerable, right? You're sharing a lot of your own thoughts out there and it can be a little bit scary, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have an overwhelming majority of love and support and you're gonna have a few little haters. But as Gary Vee says, haters are and I love that video he has on it because it's true. Think about people that go out of their way to leave hateful and negative comments on things. They're so bored in their own life and they obviously don't like themselves. They have to go out and try and tear people down. So just remember, there's a very, very small amount. They are the loudest, those keyboard warriors, those internet trolls. But just remember, if you focus on serving, those people that you're helping will reach out to you. They'll comment, they'll send you love, and they'll just understand thank you. Because again, you have the answer to some of their problems. And I think it's a moral obligation to hit publish so that way you can help others. Remember, it's not about you, it's about who you can help. And I have a great personal example of this. So as I mentioned, I've been a top writer for Fearless Motivation, a huge motivational self-help, self-improvement kind of website. And a couple years ago, they said, hey, we're loving your writing. We want you to write a piece and do a voiceover for a video. Now, I hadn't done that at all. So instantly, voiceover work, I started getting scared, nervous. I'm not enough. Who am I? My voice sucks. Like, I got so nervous. And I decided to do it. So I wrote a great script. I delivered the voiceover work. They put together amazing videography to it, and they hit publish. Now, they have a huge following, over 1 million followers on each of their channels. And within a few weeks, this thing went viral and had like over 1 million views. And it was my voice, my script, and they were able to do the amazing visuals. And it was at that moment I realized if I let imposter syndrome get in, I would not have published that, and that potentially would not have helped millions of people. Because again, you have to think, it's not about you, it's about who you can help. All right, so before getting into our final tip, I would love to know what's your biggest fear? What do you think's holding you back? Hit the comment box down below so we can kind of game plan and figure out a way to help you hit publish. My third and final tip to help you overcome imposter syndrome as a writer is to focus on you. Now, I know this sounds a little corny and some of you might not be into all the woo-woo and self-improvement out there, but I found that once I really started working on that, I started to quit giving what anyone else thought. Because I knew that all the content I was putting out there, whether it was a podcast, a video, or a blog post, I knew it was out there because I was trying to help people. I literally love sharing knowledge with others. And so when I started really focusing on that, really taking care of myself and monitoring my thoughts and doing things like meditation and self-hypnosis and just taking time to myself, writing in a journal, taking care of my physical health, my mental health also improved. So again, I know that might sound a little out there and you think, how does that impact one or the other? But again, the mind-body connection is very, very strong. And again, I just want to share what has worked for me to give you some ideas so we can get rid of that imposter syndrome once and for all. Remember, imposter syndrome is in your head. Every entrepreneur, every writer, every person that's done something new has felt that fear before, and that is okay. So as I mentioned in the beginning, once we reframe this imposter syndrome and start thinking about it as a positive, everything can start to change. As I always tell my writing students inside Freelance to 5K, you are only one article, one client away from changing your life forever. But if you let that fear and inadequacy sneak in, you are not gonna have the courage to hit publish, and you might not be able to really impact those people and possibly change your life. Remember, stick with it, drown out the haters, and believe in yourself. Well, as you can tell, I'm fired up, and I hope you are too, because again, there's so much potential out there once you get rid of those fears and start focusing on serving and really reaching your potential. So if you are already freelancing or are someone that's just trying to get that first client, I have the perfect resource for you. So click the link down in the description there to get access to my 10-part free video course to help you land your first writing client. And I'll actually go into some several strategies there to help you overcome imposter syndrome as a freelancer by building your website and all kinds of other tips and tricks so you can land that first client. So again, simply enter your email and I will send that your way so you can get logged in today. Well, hopefully you're feeling inspired and ready to take on the world, because again, if I can overcome imposter syndrome as a writer, you can too. If you want more great videos, again, take a look at some of my playlists and the ones here on this end screen. And finally, if you could hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss any of my new videos. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I hope you have an epic day.